Welcome to week 16 of 16 when we do chapter 18 on management of waiting lines. I'm sure several of you had never thought that there was much of a science to that, but hopefully you learned a little bit in this chapter, because there certainly is. Okay, so chapter 18 on page 782, management of waiting lines. On page 783, right in the middle, waiting lines occur when there is a temporary imbalance between supply or capacity and demand. Waiting lines. At the bottom of page 783, queuing theory. Queuing theory is a mathematical approach to the analysis of waiting lines. What are we going to do about it? Well, just people got to wait, right? A little more to it. On page 784, toward the bottom, so why is there waiting? Many people are surprised to learn that waiting lines tend to form even though a system is basically underloaded. For example, a fast food restaurant may have the capacity to handle an average of 200 orders per hour and yet experience waiting lines even though the average number of orders is only 150 per hour. We can do 100 per hour. We're only averaging 150 an hour, but we still have lines. How can that be? The key word is average. In reality, customers arrive at random intervals rather than at evenly spaced intervals, and some orders take longer to fill than others. If you're like me, you hate it when somebody comes into Subway and has got a handwritten list in their hand and says, okay, the first one I want to be a 6-inch. So, my old boss, who I think a lot of, used to have a saying, you can drown in a lake that on average is only 1 inch deep when you find that 8-foot hole. But on average, it's only 1 inch. 1 inch. But that's on average. On page 790, measures of waiting line performance. The operations manager typically looks at 5 measures when evaluating existing or proposed service systems. They relate to potential customer dissatisfaction and cost. The first one, and very important, is the average number of customers waiting either in line or in the system. The average number of customers. We're not looking at the time yet, just the average number, because that's what people see. You know, how many people have walked into a restaurant, seen people standing there, I'll come back. You go for a haircut, I'll come back. You go wherever you go, say, you know what, I can wait on this. On page 794, single server, constant service time, M divided by D over 1. As noted previously, waiting lines are a consequence of random, highly variable arrival and service rates. If a system can reduce or eliminate the variability of either or both, it can shorten waiting lines noticeably. A case in point is a system with constant service time. The effect of a constant service time is to cut in half the average number of customers waiting in line. I'm sure you've done this, either gone to your bank or credit union. It's got 4 lanes. Every one has 2 cars. Which one do you pick? If you can, you stay back and hopefully go to the one where it's got the first movement, which is smart until you find out the person in front of you has done none of their homework. And they're trying to, let me grab the check. Let me think, how much am I going to put? Can I start a CD? So, single server, constant time. You know, that's nice when everybody has to do the exact same thing. page 811, down toward the bottom, the psychology of waiting. Despite management's best efforts, in some instances, it is not feasible to shorter waiting times. Nevertheless, steps can be taken in certain situations that make the situation more acceptable to those waiting in line, particularly when the waiting line consists of people. The importance of doing so should not be underestimated. Read about the studies. Well, you have to read the whole chapters, but actually the example I had that I talk about is a jewelry shop. Years ago, we were on a cruise. My wife and I were in some country. It's still the U.S., but I don't know, whatever. And she was getting a ring made. She knew exactly what she wanted. I'm like, oh, geez, it's going to take forever. Owner of the jewelry shop, Raj, says, hey, come here. I'd been in there before. Come here. So all of a sudden, I'm sitting there with my buddy. He bringing us Corona beers and cigars. You know what? I didn't mind waiting. In fact, I didn't want the ring to get done. So the psychology of waiting. Raj had it figured out. On the top of page 813, managing waiting lines at Disney World. Walt Disney theme parks are leaders in effectively managing waiting lines. It's kind of nice when you say, you're only 15 minutes out from here. Wait, looks like there's 200 people there. You're 15 minutes out is all. Oh, this moves good. Oh. All right. And the case that you'll be doing here has to do with Big Bank. And the question is, if you were the manager, which option would you select? Why? Explain the disparity between the results for the two options. What assumptions did you make in your analysis? So, all righty. So that is Management of Waiting Lines, Chapter 18. Thank you.